Good morning, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues, friends. My name is Sergio Albani. I'm from the European Union Satellite Center. I'm chairing this conference together with my colleagues Stefan Lumnitz from ESA and Peter Kempeners from JRC. It is my great honor to welcome you all to the 7th edition of the Big Data from Space conference, this time here in the beautiful Riga. And first of all, let me extend my sincere gratitude to the European Space Agency, to the European Commission's Joint Research Center, of course, to my colleagues from SATSEN, and to our Latvian hosts for making this gathering possible. Your dedication has created a unique event where space science, technology, and policy converge for the benefit of society. Let me start with a bit of a history of BiDS'. Since its beginning, more than 1 decade ago, this conference has grown into one of the most important platforms in Europe for shaping how we use data from space, fostering synergies between different space domains. Each edition has brought together researchers, innovators, space leaders, policymakers to share knowledge, forge partnerships, and imagine new futures. And today, in this edition, Big Data from Space stands as a symbol of Europe's ambition. That's to remain at the forefront of scientific excellence, digital innovation, and global responsibility. So the objective of this conference, the objectives actually, are so ambitious as they are necessary. We are here to explore how massive streams of data from Earth observation and other sources can be transformed into actionable knowledge. We are here to learn how artificial intelligence, high-performance computing, new digital infrastructures can empower sustainable solutions to global challenges, from climate change to food security, from health to resilience, from civil security to biodiversity. We are here to advance research and innovation, ensuring that our scientific work and technological progress continue to drive Europe's autonomy, resilience, and long-term competitiveness. But more than that, we are here to reinforce something actually fundamental. That's the power of cooperation. None of us, no institution, no nation can solve these challenges alone. Only by working together across borders, across disciplines, we can unlock the full potential of space data for the benefit of people, planet, and prosperity. So as we embark on these 3 days of discussions, expositions, and discovery, I invite you to be bold, to share your ideas, to challenge assumptions, and to build bridges between fields and communities. Let us leave Riga not only with new knowledge, but with renewed inspiration and stronger partnerships. So, thank you and welcome to Big Data from Space 2025. So it is now my pleasure to introduce the first of our distinguished speaker, Ms. Dash Malbard, that's Minister of Education and Science of Latvia, whose leadership is key in advancing Latvia's knowledge, research, and innovation agenda. Minister, the floor is yours.
Good morning, distinguished representatives, dear guests. It is a great honor to join you today at the opening of the Big Data from Space conference. To start, I would like to warmly welcome you to Riga and the National Library of Latvia. And for you to know, here in Latvia, the library is also known as a Castle of Light, an architectural landmark that resonates beautifully with this week's theme of illuminating knowledge through big data and space. This year, we proudly mark 5 years since Latvia became an associated member of the European Space Agency. For us, it is a milestone that reflects our steady and determined path in developing advanced materials, driving innovation, and contributing to the global space sector. And this conference is a result of this fruitful collaboration with international partners. European Space Agency, European Commission's Joint Research Centre, and European Union Satellite Centre. Today, the Big Data from Space Conference is a leading platform for cutting-edge discussions in space, data science, and technology, highlighting future political directions that will impact industrial competitiveness, security, and resilience. All of these topics are highly relevant to our government, researchers, as well as industries. While the program ahead promises many insightful discussions, I would like to use this momentum to reflect on what this conference symbolizes for Latvia. Latvia is a growing contributor to the European space sector, and it is essential for us to ensure that our name is recognized on the global space community map, recognized as a country which greatest strength lies in knowledge. We take pride in a growing space ecosystem, one that is agile, ambitious, and built on strong foundation of science, education, and innovation. To continue, we are eager to bring the brightest minds of Europe and beyond closer to our industries and our research community. Latvia's space sector holds significant potential, and further developing it remains our priority. Our continuous investment in space is about building long-term capacity, competitiveness, and resilience. And this conference is a proof that we are not only ready to contribute, but we are partners, learners, and innovators. We see space, the data, and the downstream sector as a driving force for advancing Latvia's industries and strengthening our innovation landscape. Our goals are clear: to engage in larger scale projects within the European space sector, to promote the commercialization of space activities, and to deliver tangible benefits to our society and economy, from space-based services and technology transfer to job creation and sustainable growth. We fully recognize that the power of both knowledge and collaboration. Today, nothing can be achieved in isolation. Partnerships are essential. For Latvia, this means building strong alliances with European and international partners, building strong alliances with research and industry sector, and engaging with businesses that can bring innovative space-based services to the market. In a world increasingly shaped by data, trust and transparency are just as vital as innovation. As we advance technologically, we must also advance ethically. Looking ahead, it is vital to recognize the strategic role of space technologies and data in safeguarding Europe's security and autonomy. These capabilities are essential for strengthening the European Union's collective defense, enhancing crisis response, and upholding our shared values in increasingly challenging geopolitical landscape. And in conclusion, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to all who have contributed to making this conference possible. First, to my colleagues at the Ministry of Education and Science, the Latvian Investment and Development Agency, the University of Latvia, Latvian Space Industry Association, as well as our partners from European Space Agency, European Commission's Joint Research Center, and European Union Satellite Center. So let's this conference serve as a starting point not only for new ideas, but also for deeper cooperation and shared progress. And I encourage you to make the most of this event with its many opportunities for exchange and cooperation. And before you leave, I warmly invite you to take some time to enjoy Riga, which I believe is splendid in the autumn season. Have a good time and good conference.
Thank you very much, Minister. So our next opening speaker is Mr. Louis Tillet. It's the European Union Satellite Center Director, so my director. He is bringing the perspective of Europe's operational hub for space-based security and intelligence support. Director, the floor is yours.
Excellency, distinguished guests, Madam, Sir, dear colleagues. Let me greet everyone today in this Latvian National Library and warmly thank the organizing team, European Space Agency, Joint Research Center, and SATCEN. Latvian authorities and our Latvian host for this great conference, gathering so many experts in the field of space data and its exploitation. SATCEN is very proud to be part of this team and support this event since 2014. SATCEN mission is to provide situational awareness for the European Union and its member states, and we have been doing so for 33 years now. We transform satellite imagery and any data coming from space assets in actionable intelligence at the request of our users, which are governments and agencies of the European Union. We support political decision-making, EU missions and operations worldwide, agencies that combat illegal activities to protect EU citizens. We are also witnessing from space a world whose order and rules set after World War II, sovereignty of states, integrity of the borders, protection of fundamental human rights, are no longer sufficiently shared and protected. It even happens in our close neighborhood in Europe. But each satellite is bringing transparency. It can deliver images, data from any part of the world once or many times per day to help understand it, being non-intrusive and compliant with international laws. In this world we live in today, technical progress is not only sought to improve our future, facilitate everyday life and work, or make the best use of resources. Technical progress is also securing our future, protecting our values, freedom and democracy, and deter potential adversaries that look into technology for very different reasons. To make it short, technology is needed to protect our future. And space is one of those strategic enablers where we Europeans need excellence. Earth observations provide early warning support crisis management. It empowers diplomacy. It is boosting Europe's capacity to act collaboratively and decisively. It provides strategic autonomy. The good news is that Europe has some champions, starting from Copernicus, with national governmental systems also, and with a very dynamic private sector. But the competition is fierce and we are deeply challenged. What do I expect from this conference? to help us stay at the cutting edge of technology in the exploitation of data coming from space, of big data. What are the challenges? The challenge is no longer the scarcity of data, but to transform vast and fragmented datasets into operational knowledge. The challenge is to improve our efficiency as information and intelligence is time sensitive. We need to deliver on time, improving service delivery. The challenge is to fuse diverse sources of data, optical, radar, hyperspectral, radio frequency interception, to name a few, through reliable analytical methods. We need your help and ideas to transform this data into actionable intelligence answering to demanding users. Projects are here to deliver and address also future challenges. If I take the example of environmental degradation and climate change and environmental degradation create instability at our borders, transformed in insecurity. It also needs data analytical tools to shape policies and action for the European Union. So we are developing with the Commission, with the External Action Service, Member States, the Climate and Environmental Security Data Analysis Hub to address it. My second example is a digital twin for security, a dynamic model tool simulating evolving risk using real-time and predictive Earth observation, also developed with those partners and European Space Agency. Our objective is to bridge innovation and operations to enhance EU's technical sovereignty and transform it into strategic autonomy in the field of situational awareness, giving us the tools to survive in a world where the EU needs more fighting spirit than ever during those last 80 years. In this landscape, we are looking to join efforts. If we want to go fast, we also need to go far, and we need to go together. In the different projects quoted, we cooperate every day, and cooperation is key with EU institutions, member states, European Space Agency, and also international partners like the United Nations. Partnerships and collaboration enhance knowledge to build a better future. Space will be part of this future to protect Europe, to protect its citizens, to protect our values. I encourage you to engage actively, to exchange ideas and forge partnerships. Space data is serving the public good and policy effectiveness with your invaluable help and support, bridging space technologies, innovation, and security. I wish you fruitful discussions and collaboration during those 3 days, and of course, to enjoy Riga and Lavia, that I warmly thank again for their hospitality here in Riga.
Thank you very much, Director. So our next speaker is Ms. Sabine Hensler, Director General for Strategy and Impact at the Joint Research Center of the European Commission. She's guiding scientific knowledge and foresight that underpin EU policies. Director General, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sergio. Small correction, I'm not yet Director General. Might become one day, but not yet. I'm Director, so it's a pleasure to be here. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Minister, colleagues, partners, guests. It is a privilege to open the BiDS'25, a forum that exemplifies the convergence of technological innovation, scientific excellence, and social responsibility. I represented the Joint Research Center, the European Commission's Science and Knowledge Service, and we are very happy to co-organize the Big Data from Space conference for the 7th time, together with our colleagues from ESA and from SATSEN. and I'm very grateful to Latvia for hosting us. It is a beautiful city here in Riga, and we have already enjoyed a lot of the hospitality yesterday and for the days to come. At the core of the Joint Research Center strategy is a clear mission. We provide independent, evidence-based knowledge that positively impacts EU society. At the Joint Research Center, we believe that to meet today's challenges, we need to work together across disciplines and hand in hand with all relevant partners. I believe that today's conference bears the same spirit of collaboration and exchange, and I'm very happy to see so many researchers, technologists, policymakers, and innovators coming over these days here to Riga. The volume, complexity, and importance of space-derived data have never been greater. These data are creating new opportunities for innovation and discovery. But the complexity and scale of these data also require new approaches and tools to extract insights and value. Artificial intelligence can help us to analyze data, enable us to respond quickly to changing conditions, and make timely decisions. Whether it is monitoring natural disasters, tracking space weather, or optimizing satellite communications, AI can help us to stay ahead of the curve and make more informed decisions virtually in real time. Let me give you a concrete example. The Copernicus Emergency Management Service that is hosted at the Joint Research Center is currently rolling out AI-powered models to analyze Earth observation data so that we can be better and quicker providing support to emergency response and management to national authorities. That is particularly important in cases where we have the floods that we have experienced over the last years, or the wildfires that we have seen and witnessed, unfortunately, in various European countries this year. The combination of artificial intelligence and space data is therefore promising, but it comes with its own challenges. How do we ensure that the breakthroughs in space data do not just serve innovation for a few companies, but society at large? How do we manage that the increasing risks that come with the data age, risks to our environment, our institutions, and our digital sovereignty, are managed in a thorough way? Our societies indeed face mounting vulnerabilities: climate shocks, cyber threats, misinformation, and fragile supply chains. All these aspects will be discussed during this conference. Against this background, probably one of the main questions is, currently, what do we do about the EU's technological sovereignty? Technological and digital sovereignty means that we are able to develop, deploy, and govern critical technologies and data on our own terms, guided by European own interests, by European values of citizen-centrism, accountability, and sustainability. The Joint Research Center plays a key role in strengthening Europe's digital sovereignty, and I'm going to give you 4 examples. First, through our Observatory of Critical Technologies, where we track and assess emerging technologies, including AI, across civil, defense, and space domains. What we do is we map their development, we identify strategic dependencies, and we evaluate the associated risks. Our work supports the European Commission in defining targeted, forward-looking policy actions that safeguard Europe's interests and foster innovation. Secondly, we actively support the implementation of the EU Chips Act. Our work on real-time monitoring of semiconductor supply chains will provide early warning of future disruptions so that we can prevent the kind of shortages that we have seen during the COVID pandemic. Thirdly, in the context of initiatives like the Critical Raw Material Act and the Net Zero Industry Act, we conduct analysis on raw material availability and supply risks, and this is fundamental to ensuring autonomy in clean tech, digital infrastructure, and space systems. And my fourth and last example is when research produces results with strategic value, we help bring them to market through our competence center on technology transfer, ensuring that the innovations born in Europe serve European interests. The challenges we face, climate volatility, geopolitical tensions, digital disruption, are too big for any single actor. And I think my previous speakers have also mentioned that. That is why the partnerships like those that are forged today are indispensable. We must unite scientific knowledge, technical innovation, and policy foresight to steer the future of space data and AI in the right direction. This includes co-developing governance frameworks, investing in green computing, and strengthening resilience through simulation and early warning systems, all themes that are going to be discussed at BiDS'25. The JRC is ready to collaborate with industry, academia, and governments to define investment priorities and shape the technological roadmaps that will underpin our common European future. In closing, let me reaffirm, in the JRC, we are not just watching the space data age unfold. We have the ambition to shape it. And we're happy to discuss how can we best do that together. We are committed to building a future where science serves society and where Europe's strategic autonomy is actively strengthened. Let's make BiDS'25 a catalyst for shared action and bold ideas. Thank you very much for being here today. Thank you very much to the organizing team, and I wish you an inspiring and a productive conference. Thank you.
So thank you, Director. Sorry for the promotion by mistake. I hope it will bring you fortune, good fortune. And then we have the last but not least speaker, Mr. Rune Fubergagen. He is the head of the Climate Action, Sustainability and Science Department of the European Space Agency, with a long-standing role in driving Europe's environmental and climate-related initiatives. The floor is yours.
Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished colleagues, friends, and fellow citizens of planet Earth, it is my honor to open this Big Data from Space 2025 conference, also on behalf of the European Space Agency. Let me first begin by thanking our hosts here in Latvia. Latvia is, as you may know, one of the newest members of the European Space Agency family, joining as an associate member in summer of 2020. And I think it is quite symbolic that we are now here, and also significant that we meet in Riga, a place where tradition, and as I've learned also yesterday, many different traditions meet innovation. Yeah? And it's a good place also to reflect on where we are today in the European space journey. We are celebrating 50 years of the European Space Agency, and therefore also 50 years of space observations, and we are doing that in this context here based on partnership and friendship with friends, with colleague organizations, and we try to do a lot of positive things for, as I said, fellow citizens of planet Earth. But let me start, because I see there's a lot of young people in the audience, a lot of talent, I would say. Before going into, let's say, the space program journey, I would like to start with a personal note here, especially, as I said, to the young people in the audience. Quite some years ago, 15 to 20 years ago actually, I had the privilege of working on one of ESA's most innovative missions, I would say. It was called GOCHA. For years, many years actually, we were struggling, scientists and engineers, and with delegations from the member states alike, to do the right thing, to realize a single goal, which was to map the gravitational field of planet Earth in unprecedented detail. And we did that with this spaceship. This spaceship looks like no other satellite that you have ever seen, and it actually had winglets at the back, and for the fighter pilots in the room, I know there are a couple, it actually had center of pressure behind the center of mass to give it also aerodynamic stability. And why did it have that? It's because it was really the skimming the upper layer of the atmosphere to bring the sensor as close as possible to planet Earth. Now, this is difficult. And in fact, since we did it between 2009 and 2013, no one else has been able to repeat this feat. So the pivotal moment in all of this, and why am I talking about that, is when we see that the results come in. We see that what we had to achieve together was way much more than a technological achievement. It gave us a sense of European excellence that we together, combining industrial power, academic power, brain power, young talent from all over Europe, that we can actually, through these long years of effort, do things that are way greater than we could ever have imagined. And so the perspective on this is that with remote sensing, we are not just remotely observing the satellite from far. We are providing perspective. And the data that we collect, they bridge this observation into knowledge and knowledge into action. And we do that happily, even though it is hard. So this is an invitation to the young people to embrace the challenges. You know, no matter how hard it is, the stamina in Europe is never to give up. And because of that, and not just this mission, but many others, we have been able to create in Europe a space program, an Earth observing program that is second to none anywhere on this planet. Now, I said we are marking 50 years of European space cooperation this year, and that means also 50 years of Earth observation. Now, we have seen here, of course, a strong evolution of the space program, okay, from the very first satellites to constellations, and also a growing maturity in the space program that is, as I said, second to none anywhere. Yeah? So in all of this, data has now moved from being, let's say, data for science to being a strategic asset, which is more or less on par with other strategic assets and economic factors anywhere, like land, like labor, like capital and technology, for example. And this is a simple fact, perhaps, but it's something that makes us reflect. The way that we deal with data and the way that we transform data into information, information into knowledge, and knowledge into action, and hopefully positive action. This is what this conference is all about. And so we have seen in all those 50 years that the observational capabilities are growing, obviously, and growing massively, yeah? But so also are the challenges that we are facing. We all know about the triple crisis, let's say, in climate, biodiversity, and also in terms of pollution and environmental degradation. I'm not revealing anything new here. But what we learn from all of this is that in the evolution of the space program, and also in the way that the space program is interacting with society at large, we need to change the way that we are operating. Obviously, space and our satellites, and I take pride also in of the, let's say, the DNA of the organization that I also represent, which is that we provide trusted, trustworthy, independent, and also global information. That is, you know, welcome, very much welcome by all the international bodies, by all the organizations in informing policy, guiding investments, and also supporting resilience for society. Now, what does the space program look like today? It is, I'm showing here obviously only the satellites that we manage or operate at the European Space Agency, but we have been able to create, as I said, a space program which is second to none worldwide. And that is not just because of us at the European Space Agency, but it's because we have been able to develop this in tango with politicians, with citizens, with other organizations that are pushing this in all domains, in research and development, in operational services, for the meteorological requirements that we have. And also, there could be a fourth ring in this picture where we could depict all of the new developments in the space program that regard commercial development. I cannot but show one example here. This is the newest member of ESA's family of satellites. It's called Biomass. We launched it in April, on 29th of April of this year. And it is a completely new satellite. It's not a sun umbrella that we are flying here, which is embarking, this satellite is embarking a synthetic aperture radar that works in P-band. And P-band, it's a wavelength of about this, 70 to 80 centimeters, and it does have the capability of actually mapping the structure of the above ground carbon, rainforest, if you will. And since we launched, we have been working tirelessly on the commissioning of the satellite, and it works brilliantly, actually. And here is one example that we have presented also a couple of months ago, where we actually demonstrate that with this kind of measurements, for the first time in the world, we are able to map the structure of the forest. What you see here in blue are single bounce radar echoes, in red, double bounce, and in green, that's maybe the most peculiar here, you see the volume scattering from the various leaves and branches of the trees. And so what we are going to be able to do with this is really to map the quantity of carbon, which is of course an extremely important part of the whole climate cycle, and convert that into understanding of the efficacy of the carbon absorption mechanism planet-wide. And the next mission that we will fly, that I will not present here because I will spend more than my allocated 10 minutes, is when we are going to measure the photosynthetic effect of all of this, the glow, if you will, in the infrared range of this planet, also to be able to follow the health of that carbon, if you will. So what I'm trying to say here is that besides the operational observational requirements, we are also feeding the system with new type of information, which I would say the science of today and the R&D of today becomes the services and also the applications and the business of tomorrow. This is very much part of the systematic and systemic thinking that we have in the space program. Now, talking about big data again. Now, so satellites are of course only the beginning. This is not a satellite conference as such. Big data from space brings challenges. We see here, for example, the yearly increase in the distribution rate of Sentinel data, and we talk about hundreds and hundreds of petabytes these days. So we have challenges in data quality, in data management in general, cybersecurity, data processing, and not the least, data distribution to make sure that this data ends up where it needs to be. So we have many challenges here, and we are working hard on that. And fortunately, we have also solutions in this domain. On top of that, we also have opportunities that are brought by new developments in artificial intelligence, high-performance computing, quantum technologies, and also, I'm sure that you have heard about that, digital twins. And what we do in Europe is really to transform all of this data, therefore, into knowledge, insight, also foresight, predictive capabilities, and therefore, hopefully, also action. Now, we in ESA, we are not the doctor in this thing, but we are diagnosing and we are offering solutions together with partners in this domain. And that's why a big part of the evolution of the space program that I'm representing is trying to bring this data and this information in the wider context of geospatial information, other types of data, expert models, and so on, in order to be able to feed a hopefully intelligent system for decision making. Now, the value of all of this is clear when we look at the impact. I don't have to remind anyone of what happened not more than, well, a little bit less than 1 year ago in Spain, rather catastrophic event that actually cost the life of many. It's obvious that satellites now support disaster response, but not only. It supports many, many kinds of resource management, fresh water, for example. Also, I talked already about forest monitoring, public health through quality measurements of the air, for example. And there are many things that we can show as good examples where investment, which is actually not a lot, is about 1 cinema ticket per head of each of anyone of us in the room today, Europe-wide, actually saves lives, protects livelihoods, and also builds resilience in general. Now, of course, we are not doing this alone. Partnership is very much the recurrent theme of this conference, also looking at who is organizing it, obviously. We work in very close cooperation with all of these organizations that you see here, and of course also with the member states. And together, and that's maybe the fellow DG here basically said, we go fast, but we also go far. And as far as I know, the African proverb says that if you really want to go far, you need to go together. And that is exactly what we are doing. We build complementary capacities, we do innovation together, but we do that under a single and common ambition. One example of that, and now I'm coming slowly towards the end of my presentation, is the so-called Earth System Science Initiative that we run together with the DGRTD in the Commission, where we try to make sure that calls under the framework program, Horizon program, is actually aligned with what we are capable of doing within our, let's say, ESA-managed part of the program, and it's going hand in hand, and hence the handshaking here on this slide between us and Europe. Now, coming back to Latvia, okay? Earth observation is, of course, not only a scientific endeavor or an operational and service type of endeavor, it is also very much an industrial domain. And not more than about 10 months ago, the Business Incubation Center of ESA here in Latvia opened, and it was a very, very significant event because it is something that we are doing in several places across Europe, and we are very happy to see innovation growing across Europe in this domain. And yes, this is another argument why it's very fitting to host BiDS' 2025 here. Also, when you look at these figures, this is an estimate done by the European Association of Remote Sensing Companies when they look at the evolution of the downstream sector in Earth observation over the past years. And what we are seeing here is that we have a significant growth in the number of employees, in the revenue, and the growth rate is in double digit per year. So this is significant. And that's good. But the challenge in this domain is that the European market is, as we all know, and Draghi was very clear on that, it's also a fragmented market, and this is something that we need to address. Final point for me is that so far I talk mainly about, let's say, what the European Space Program has been building up to now. We are, of course, also working on strong improvement of the resilient capabilities and solutions that space can offer. So we are preparing together with our partners the so-called European Resilience from Space Initiative. And this is very much, as our colleague from SATSEN said, about strategic autonomy and sovereignty, and we are doing that in ESA across 3 pillars: Earth observation, navigation, and also connectivity, or what used to be called telecommunication. So there is an evolution in this domain, obviously driven by geopolitics, and a not very nice situation in that perspective, but it means also that Europe and ESA is part of this family that is taking, let's say, Europe's needs in an uncertain world very, very seriously. So let me conclude by saying this. I hope that I've been able to show to you that BiDS is not only about technology, it is about turning this big data into insight, foresight, knowledge, resilience, and competitiveness. And I started also by saying that the observation from space not only gives us a measurement, it gives us perspectives. And those data sets that we collect, they give us knowledge. Knowledge gives us power. And together, all of us in this room, we give it a purpose. Each and every one of us carries the potential to transform this data into decisions and decisions into change. And that's why we are doing all of this. With that, let me invite you all to explore, to share, and to challenge our ideas. Ladies and gentlemen, BiDS 2025 is now yours. Thank you very much.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so before we begin with the conference, let me highlight a few key aspects. So, first of all, that one of the strong points of Big Data from Space, of this conference, is that there are no parallel sessions. So we all share the same program, we all share the same discussions, so no one can miss any contribution. But during the coffee and the lunch breaks, you will have the chance to join demos, presentations, one-to-one meetings, birds of a feather discussions, poster sessions, and I also invite you to visit the ESA, SATS, and JRC common booth, as well as the industry booths. All the programs, so the program with all these presentations and events, you can find it on Umbrella. So I do invite you to make the most of Umbrella, and also you can use it to, as we can say, to connect, so to connect with other people. I do invite you to connect at least with the three new contacts within this conference, and so take part in the networking formats available. And finally, one logistical remark, just remember that tonight for registered participants, we will have the welcome dinner, while tomorrow we will have here in the library the networking event. So with this, I wish you all a fruitful and inspiring conference. Big Data from Space 2025 is finally open. Thank you very much.